was arrested under Section 10 of Apartheid Government's Internal Security Act and murdered in detention in September. Then, about a month later, on October 19, the then Minister of Justice, Jimmy Kruger, under the very same Section 10 of the Apartheid Act, arrested editors and banned the Weekend World, the church publication, Pro Veritate, Midupi Writers Association, and the Union of Black Journalists, as well as 19 other Black consciousness organizations. And further, the apartheid regime detained key writers, Joe Tolwe Matata, Don Matera, who were tortured in prison and given 5-year bans on their release. The board member has also indicated. The media gag was to stop journalists from trying to expose the regime, and so that day was deemed Black Wednesday. October 19th is now annually marked to observe and highlight media freedom and an analysis of the status of media independence. The right to press freedom and freedom of expression was a not negotiable outcome of our struggle for political freedom. At the International Press Institute Congress in 1994, Nelson Mandela said, and I quote, "A critical, independent, and investigative press is the lifeblood of any democracy. The press must be free from state interference. It must have the economic strength to stand up to the blandishments of government officials. It must have sufficient independence from vested interests to be bold and inquiring without fear of failure. It must enjoy the protection of the Constitution so that it can protect our rights as citizens," close quote. Black Wednesday reminds us of the importance of real independence of the media as a fundamental cornerstone of democracy. The notion of fake news has gained great currency across the world in intergovernmental policies and regulation. Some believe fake news is the old media practice of disseminating false information that was somewhat dealt with by the League of Nations in the 1930s. Others see fake news or disinformation as a new threat and challenge to democracy and the international order because it behaves and operates differently. The commemoration of Black Wednesday takes place during an important time in the department's calendar as the information technology sector observes Cybersecurity Month. It is therefore fitting that the department is invited to this engagement today as the media industry deliberates on fake news and disinformation as a threat to media freedom, development, and freedom of expression. Spreading lies and information that is untrue is definitely not new, but with the rise of digital media, it spreads easily and quickly. It goes without saying that technology has eased the news reporting. Smartphones and other technology gadgets enable journalists to record, edit, package, and file stories anywhere on the go, but the X that hangs over a newsmaker's head is that before information can be verified or disputed through fact-checking, it has already gained traction, has influenced society in some shape or form, and made its mark. Sometimes program director, the story shared by the public matches the media report, sometimes not. And the latter is when the credibility and reputation of the media is impacted. Media houses have effectively lost the ability to control the public dissemination of information and thus to set the public discourse and influence the narrative. The digital revolution has also fueled the great rush to convergence as the media landscape has a continuous cycle of development of new technology-based platforms and products. Furthermore, citizen journalism through this platform has reduced the number of traditional media roles like news reporters and photographers, inadvertently resulting in downsizing and job losses in the traditional media sector, while creating new roles of online fact-checking, mobile journalists, and other things still to come. Most importantly, though, there is the abuse of technology and its use to target, censor, and spread disinformation. And in 1977, journalists fought the apartheid beasts. Today, this beast is misinformation and disinformation, which are used to create panic and disorder, and quite frankly, even censor journalists. Governments are making a concerted effort to counter this widespreading activity, and there is significant research being done as well as trends to be watched and studied. There are calls to establish policies and legal barriers to the spread of harmful untruths online, and also demand to achieve greater transparency of the algorithms used by information service providers who manage and curate information. There are calls for their terms of use to adhere to human rights standards and develop ethical quality standards regarding due diligence of their media services. The department has created various interventions in the fight against fake news and disinformation in South Africa. And in 2018, the Cybersecurity Awareness Portal was launched for national engagement of citizen online safety. William Bett, who's part of our panel, set up Real 411 earlier this year, and the department entered into this collaboration at the beginning of the pandemic's lockdown of South Africa to ensure that fake news of COVID-19 was kept under control through similar collaborations with Facebook, with Twitter, as disinformation about the coronavirus can literally threaten lives. And so we also launched the COVID-19 fake news reporting lab. And as I conclude, while public authorities and politicians might be media savvy, with the plethora of media tools available at our fingertips, we need to understand, appreciate, and respect the role that the independent and pluralistic media plays, combined with the internet freedom in an open and democratic society. And I urge media owners to invest in their newsroom and business models to fight fake news. And I challenge various institutions like academia, research houses, corporates who benefit from media coverage and the media themselves to play a role in strengthening the media landscape and to look at strategies for social media engagement that disarms the spread of disinformation and fighting fake news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, for that very thorough and expansive introduction into what is likely to be a very poignant discussion. Based on that and the three pointed questions that were put to each of the panelists, may I now, Minister, now that you have spoken, move on to our second panelist, Ms. Sophie Mokoena, to share her thoughts on Black Wednesday. What in her mind are the consequences of the scourge of disinformation in our democracy, and in the context of Black Wednesday, where we've come from? And lastly, how has disinformation and misinformation evolved under the current COVID-19 context? And the same questions, if our next two panelists could proceed with. Thank you, Ms. Mokoena.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you to panel members and the DM. In the first place, I would like to really commend the people who came before us in this industry, particularly those who participated on that fateful day. And the day itself demonstrates that the media is an important pillar of democracy. It is for that reason around the world, when governments don't find pleasure in their relationship with the media, to try and convince them or influence them in terms of what they are doing, particularly on issues of human rights violation, failure to deliver services, failure to be accountable, they will always target the media. And we really appreciate the fact that our forebears stood firm to ensure that they protect the independence of the media, and also making huge sacrifices, as you have mentioned them, and maybe dates back to many other people, like those who were there before 1977, those who took part in trying to create a platform for people on the continent, and particularly in South Africa, to have a say and also to express their views in terms of oppression and discrimination, be it colonialism or apartheid. Now, turning to today,